Hey everybody, Mark, Circle of the Dark Mother. Today I'm going to talk about building an altar to Lilith, and really this is applicable to any entity, deity, but of course I'm working with Lilith. So the first thing I want to say is altars are very personal and should fit you, your path, and your magic. We're going to discuss how to build a Kabbalistic altar to Lilith, but this can be modified for other deities and other traditions. So if you work in a different way than this, or you have a specific way you do your altar, you do you, and it's totally fine. This is just some examples. So the first thing is item consecration. You really should consecrate all the items before they're put on your altar. And there's many ways to do this. You can do it however have been taught. But the way I do it is I use water, oil, and smoke to consecrate. So first, I clean it with water. Now, if it's an item that really shouldn't get wet, like let's say it was a book or a piece of paper, then I won't dunk it or anything. I may put a drop of water on it. If it's completely not good to be in water, then I will skip that. Then I consecrate it with oil, and then I take my incense and go over it. I then hold the item, and I pray to Lilith and ask that the item be an extension of me and my light body. Now, again, you can do this with another entity, but this is something you can do with Lilith. So altar placement. Really, where you place it is up to you, and it may be just where you have space, but there are properties to direction. So east is life, air, healing. West is death, water, prophecy, and dreaming. South is ancestors, fire, and protection. And north is material things, earth, and magic. I usually put my altar in the east or west, if possible, but again, does not have to. This is just a very temporary small altar I'm putting together. This is nothing permanent. It's just an example. And you do not have to use an altar cloth, although I did in this case. So the first thing to do is to put your statue or image on your altar. Now, the image doesn't have to be a statue. It can be a picture. It can be anything. But pick an image that resonates with you. In this case, I'm using the Sumerian Lilith. And pay attention to what culture it's from. Is it Mesopotamian? Is it from Kambanda? Is it Kabbalah? Is it Draconic? What is it? Because that will shape the energy of your altar. Candles. In Kabbalistic work, there's usually two, one on the right for mercy and one on the left for severity. Now, you can put more candles, and if you don't work Kabbalistically, you don't have to put two, you can do one. But this is the way I've been taught. You can pick colors that are for your intent. White is the most generic and easy to find. And depending on my altar, I use 7 or 14-day candles because I do, even though I put a lot of candles on, I leave two burning all the time. You may not be able to do that based on your circumstances, but if you are going to have something burning, you want something that's going to take a while to burn down. Then you add a wand and a knife. A wand in Kabbalah is masculine. It can be crystal, wood, whatever. Knife is also masculine and it can be metal, wood, crystal, etc. In this case, both my wand and my knife are crystal. Traditional Kabbalistic altars have the wand on the right, mercy, and the knife on the left, severity. Then I add a cup, which is feminine, and it can be wood, stone, ceramic, metal, whatever. This is green onyx, so it is stone. The cup is usually on the left, which is severity again. Then you add a pentacle. Pentacles are feminine. They're wood, crystal, stone, metal, etc., but they're round. You'll notice this doesn't have any kind of pentagram on it. That's okay, but it is in the shape of a pentacle. And in a traditional Kabbalistic altar, the pentacle is on the right, again for mercy. We then add a crystal ball, which is neutral and can be any type of substance that helps you to scry. Quartz is usually best. On a traditional Kabbalistic altar, the crystal ball is either in the center or on the pentacle. And the reason is for balance. You notice the cup is really tall, the pentacle isn't. You put the crystal ball there and it really balances the altar. And this object is compassion, meaning the merging of severity and mercy. After that, you can add other objects. In this case, I've added a an onyx egg and a piece of tourmaline. The egg is for the idea of the egg of creation, the Dark Mother's creation, and the tourmaline is for protection. But you can put whatever else you want. You can add offerings. In this case, I put a couple offering bowls. These are in the selenite crescent moon shapes, but your offering can be individual one, it can be multiple, it can be in any shape. In this case, I've put two unfertilized cockatiel eggs as offerings. You can give lots of things. You can give, um, alcohol. There is water in the cup in this case. You can give bones. You can give blood. You can give food, whatever you feel called to. In this case, I also added a Lilith rosary, and I did this with the idea that it is an offering to her because I made this for her. And then you finish out the altar, and that's by adding anything you want to make it more well-rounded. There was some open space, so I put these two skulls and this owl on there. They are things that really represent Lilith. But anything that fits your practice, and your altar can be very simple or very complex. I do then consecrate the altar once everything's on it. And what I do there is I take the incense again and I use the smoke to smudge the whole altar. I then place my hands on the altar top and dedicate it to Lilith and make it an extension of my magic. And I do that as part of a ritual. I open up a ritual, I do the consecration of the altar, and then I go on with whatever else is being done during the magic. Other ideas. If you don't have to use, you don't have to use expensive tools, what you have or can find. So if you can't afford an expensive statue, print out a small picture, get a piece of stone that reminds you of Lilith or whoever your entity is. And if you can't have a full altar because of your living situation, there are a couple options. Just create a small space with a candle and a picture that represents Lilith, whoever you're working with, or keep your altar in a nice box so you can bring it out when needed, and the box becomes the altar, and you put the items on top of it. That is something that's really good for when you don't have a lot of space and or you need to hide your altar. So that is something else that I've seen people do. Now, in conclusion, go as big or as small, as complex or simple as you want. This is an altar of mine. I'm not using at the moment. It's my altar is different, but this is one that had several features. It has the very large 3.5 foot statue. It's got two other statues, lots of candles, flowers. It's got, of course, as we did before, it's got a cup, it's got a wand, it's got a knife, it's got a pentacle, and it's got a crystal ball. But then it has a bunch of other things, and there are offerings on it. I gave my books that I've written as offerings. So this is a more complicated altar, but you don't have to go this big and ornate. I've been collecting Lilith stuff for 25 years. And I've had groups where we've met in person. So it was good to have large objects for group devotion and ritual. But you don't need that. Again, you can start out with a picture, a candle, um, a stick, and a plastic knife, if that's what you need to start with. It's really about your intent. And what I did is I always started small and then worked my way up to a bigger altar. So do what works for you. Hopefully that was helpful. and we'll talk more about things like altars and tools.